Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 189 of the RRBG Podcast. The RRBG Podcast is a proud member of the Podbelly Network. Go to podbelly.com to check out the list of amazing shows on our network, including the Sofa King Podcast and Art and Jacob Do America, which I was recently a guest on. Check out the website, make sure you leave reviews, and support the network. This episode is brought to you by El Yucateco Hot Sauce. Chances are, if you've ever been to a Mexican restaurant in your life, you've seen one of these bottles on their tables. Either the red or the green chile verde sauce. Their salsa picante is a staple. It goes great with tacos and quesadillas, but also other food, like burgers and chicken wings. Hell, if you go to their website, you can actually see a video from their YouTube channel on how to make a fantastic Bloody Mary mix using the sauce. They've been doing this for over 50 years, and like I said, it is a staple. So go ahead and check out shopelucateco.com and use the promo code RRBG to get 10% off. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Killcliff, my personal favorite CBD recovery drink in the market today. They've got some delicious flavors like the new Strawberry Days or the Orange Kush. Go to their website, killcliff.com right now, and check it out. They've also got the Ignite Clean Caffeine Energy Drink with 150 milligrams of caffeine. And that also comes in a great assortment of flavors as well. Check them out. Make sure you go to killcliff.com for more information. And finally, this episode is brought to you by Saints Joints. They make premier, top-shelf, pre-rolled joints in these incredible artistic packages. You can go to their website, saintsjoints.com, right now to check them out. They're my favorite to bring out to parties or when I go to the comedy store to hang out. Everybody is always blown away by the artwork and the quality of the joints themselves. They also have pure CBD pre-rolls as well if you're not into the THC and just want to take part in some of the healing properties of the plant. We recently collaborated with Saints Joints and created a special playlist featuring music from some of the past guests on the show. Go to their Instagram page right now, at saints_joints, and check it out. Or go to their website, saintsjoints.com, to pick up some pre-rolls and some awesome merch. In this episode, it's the return of Michael Hill of Tombs. Tombs has a new album out, Under Sullen Skies. It's fantastic, dark, heavy, ethereal metal. Definitely check it out. We talk about the creation of that album. We talk about living through these crazy, crazy times under lockdown with no live shows. We talk about humanity and empathy. We talk about his podcasts. I mean, it was a great conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure to follow him on social media at Michael_DC_Hill, or follow the band Tombs at Tombs Cult. And please, please check out our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/RRBG and get yourself some exclusive content that you can only find there. And help me keep the podcast running. I appreciate all of the support. Cheers. What's up, everybody? I'm here with Michael Hill of Tombs. How are you, brother?
Doing well. How you doing?
Doing all right. Before we get started, I wanted to say I had some delicious huevos rancheros this morning using some of this El Yucateco hot sauce. It's a staple, all right? It's necessary if you want to have huevos rancheros. You have to have it. Secondly, I wanted to thank Killcliff, because this stuff right here, Ignite, has been replacing my coffee in the mornings, waking me up and getting me ready to grind, to do things. I haven't had mine yet. I'm about to do it now because it's been a long morning. It's my day off, so I tend to be slow in the process of waking up as opposed to a work day. So how you been, brother? Talk to me.
Oh, it's under the circumstances. I'm doing okay.
Under the circumstances, yes.
It's like kind of like that's not an easy question for a lot of people to answer these days, No. Aside from just the isolation and emotional trauma of dealing with this pandemic, sometimes it's hard to find some bright moments, but they come here and there.
Well, you're experiencing one right now, right? I mean, you just dropped a new album.
Actually, today.
Yeah.
Ironically, you and I are speaking on the official release date of the new Tombs LP, Under Sullen Skies.
Nice, brother. I listened to it, and man, heavy as fuck. Just right out the gate. Takes you into a very dark, atmospheric, almost death metal, just... I love it when bands like yourself and like let's say like a Behemoth or something, they do the double pedaling for a good verse length, and the guitars are just constantly shredding in this like dark, like the beginning of the first song. What's the name of the first song? I forget right here.
Big Bone Furnace kicks the record off.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god, it's just like, and it just starts opening up this dark, ethereal world and it takes you on the ride the whole time. Like for the next song it almost sounds hardcore-ish when it starts. It's got the dun 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 dun, the chuggy part, but then breaks into more death metal, and it's awesome to hear that you're putting out this really powerful dark music during a time where people seem to kind of, like you said, we're all having a hard time here, and the album is kind of a fitting soundtrack, I think.
I guess that's good. I just wish we were able to get out on the road, and as you know, we're a touring centric sort of band, so it's kind of a drag just sitting home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean there's some shows, but fuck, man, like the drive-through shows. I don't know how that works for death metal.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I just don't think the energy would be there, and. I mean, some of these, people are doing the practice-based type of video things, which is cool. But, I just, it's going to be depressing a couple of years from now to like look back and see that. I think I just don't want to contribute to that kind of thing, really, with people.
Well, maybe. I mean, it all depends on your perspective, brother. I mean, if you look at it and you think about it, where hey, we went through a rough time, and you put out. You man up and put out effort, like you're doing something, I guess. Or I mean, like you're putting out the album, which is super commendable, because I wouldn't put out an album. I wouldn't be putting out an album right now. There's just no, like you said, there's no touring, and that's where most of the money comes, because the streaming is shit. You get nothing.
No, man, it's another, it's ironic about streaming and major labels, and it's really just the same dirty hands taking the same amount of money from people. It's not like anything's changed, and no one realizes how much exploitation is going on. And that's the name of the game in the music industry. I mean, it was set up. I mean, not to get on like a political soapbox, but I mean, from the beginning, back in the old days, all this stuff was set up really to exploit African American people, you know what I mean, making blues and R&B music and all that sort of stuff, and nothing's changed. Same thing. Yeah,
no, I hear you. It's. You look at I forget that there's still terrible music out there, because I live in a little bubble where I don't let it. You know what I mean? I only listen to the good stuff that gets sent to me, and I'll hear some stuff that's whatever questionable, but. It's just I like to expose myself to different aspects of the world, like pop music and shit like that. But it's incredible to me that someone like yourself or some of our homies that are so talented, they don't get a fraction of what like just this like prefabricated pop star that puts zero effort. Yeah,
but it's kind of always been that way, man. I mean, it's like, maybe like in the small insular world that you and I like primarily operate in, it's like, the idea of being big is still very small compared to the overarching world that everyone else exists in. I mean, like in the 80s you had, I think pop music in the 80s was way better than it is now, but you had kind of throwaway bubblegum music, which was like selling huge, and it made sense because a lot of people, it sort of had a common denominator, and there was like, but I do agree that I think some of the quality of the pop music of the 80s, like Madonna, I love Madonna still to this day, it might be a little bit better, but I just think that in general, people are just looking, like they look for that common denominator, and that just really doesn't have anything to do with me or people who are into extreme music. I mean, extreme music's, people are looking for something extreme that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that.
The reason I bring it up is because of bands like Pantera, for example. It was a band that broke that kind of extreme music and pop culture barrier, I think.
Yeah.
It's like Metallica did it, a little bit, but I think you look at videos for like Domination live, and it's just the most insane crowd I've ever seen. Like that was kind of, I was hoping, would keep happening throughout. Like we had a little bit of that with nu metal, and you look at bands like Korn and all that. They broke all the mainstream, channels with that shit. But that also ended up dying down.
Sure.
Like the whole fad of like, the big rock bands like Rage Against the Machine or whatever playing MTV or Nine Inch Nails, that I feel like all that kind of went away. Like now kind of lately, I think with like video games, I think metal is starting to make a little bit of a more splash into pop culture than like, I guess, MTV or whatever,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't fuck around with video games too much because I know that like, all I needed to do is to find that one game that I love, and I would
lose the rest of your life.
Everything else in my life, probably. I got like that kind of obsessive personality with certain things,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what most artists have, but they just direct that to their craft instead of somebody else's, craft.
Yeah.
Like, you got to make it instead of just enjoying it, because even as a musician, I know you're a fan of music. It's got to be hard to be a fan and not let it influence the music you're creating. You know what I mean? Like I know dudes that don't listen to music when they're in writing mode because they don't want to write a similar riff to something they love.
Yeah, I mean, I got to admit though, I think I'm pretty blatant about some of the stuff that influences me though. Like, I'm not going to pretend like I invented the wheel,
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably listen to our records and figure out what's in my record collection, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So how did you start the process for the new album? I mean, what was the, like, hey, how long has this been in the process? Did you start right after the last album in 2017 or did you do this recently?
Well, that's an interesting question that a lot of people ask, and I know everyone's different about how they approach writing music, and some bands like they have like these beginning and end dates where now we're going to write a new album, but I think pretty much for my whole life I've just kind of written material and whenever, you know what I mean, like never like the band's a little bit more collaborative than it's been in years, and we're all just always throwing around ideas. So it's just material that we've been working on. We did an EP earlier in the year, and at the time we did those songs, these songs were still like kind of semi-written, semi-figured out, semi like actualized, and weren't anywhere near being complete. So we just kind of continued just rolling with it, and then when Season of Mist was like, yeah, we want to put out a record at the end of the year too, we just kind of like stepped it up a little bit and tried to complete some of the stuff. And the riffs are there's never a deficit of riffs, you know what I mean? Like there's always, we throw away more songs than we keep, man. It's like I got like a whole hard drive filled with songs and pieces of songs that we never even used, or maybe we'll use it someday. So, I mean, it's kind of like a constant, continuous kind of process. And I just think that's a good way of keeping things fresh. And also, you don't get stuck in like a rut, because like what happens is sometimes during this period, I'm really into, we're all really into doing this particular thing. And then everything sounds like that. So if you break it up, you have time to move on to other things. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I was having this conversation the other day where it feels like almost that like the album structure is changing overall for music. Like we'll have bands come out with just they'll drop 2 songs, and then that we don't hear anything from them for months, and then like, oh, here's an EP, and then like I don't think as consumers people are as concerned with the full album experience anymore. The whole Spotify shit that ruins it for everybody. Like everybody has Discovery playlist on just playing in the background or whatever it is, and
right.
they rather just get one really good song and look into it and be like, oh, there's an album from this year, or there's like an EP coming out next week, or it's more of it's a different experience. But I don't know. I mean, I'm still old school and I like listening to a full fucking album,
Yeah, I kind of like delve in both worlds. It's like primarily I'm like you, like more like old school with my approach, and I do like sometimes like on Apple Music where the similar artists, and like I'll check that out. And some of that stuff is like pretty right on, and I'll explore that band's like whole catalog. Mm-hmm. And if I really like it, I'll buy, if it's something I really want to support, then I'll buy the LPs and the shirts and, whatever stuff I can get from the band, directly. And that's just kind of how I do it, but I would be comfortable with releasing songs like every 3 or 4 months, honestly, but I don't think people would really care too much after that,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just depends, I guess. It's weird how things take off. I mean, the labels still serve a purpose, I feel. Even though you have the capacity to release your own music and do whatever, I see some labels that actually put work in. Like Seasons of Mist puts work in. Like I get emails from them all the time. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean that's really the difference right there. Because I run into people all the time, friends of mine who are like, "Oh man, I don't need a label." I'm like, "All right, cool. That's great." It's an uphill battle though. It's like, great. Hey, I think it's really cool that just with Bandcamp you can have launch your whole campaign right there.
Yeah,
you got physical product, you can have digital, you have a presence, which is awesome. But like in order to get added to like all these different playlists and Spotify, all these like curated, you're never going to do that on your own unless you have like a label or someone working the PR angles. Yeah. And no one's going to really find out about you unless that's the case, or if you're out there touring all the time, and that's harder and harder to do without a label. So
yeah, and you get paired up with bands too, like that. You get that camaraderie, right? Where like if you're in a label, you're basically touring probably with people from that label that you guys do a package,
Yeah, and sometimes, a lot of it has to do with who their booking agent is too. It's like, if you're on a roster with some other bands, and then the agent's putting together like a package tour, then it's like easier for him to go to his, roster to fill out the support and opening slots and all that sort of stuff too. So that plays part of it, and that's another thing. That's a good way to network and, make, camaraderie with other bands and down the line, do more tours together, like that kind of stuff.
I feel like that's so important, and a lot of bands that I know, they always have just like the one guy that does that, in the band. But I feel like I always try to tell my bandmates before, because like I was the one that was going out and networking and like, hey, let's book shows and let's talk to a touring guy or whatever. And then my guitar player started doing it too a bit, Brian. But I'm like, dude, if all 4 of us were doing this. You know what I mean? Like a car, it's 4 cylinders, for a reason. It doesn't run on 1 cylinder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just kind of the way the world sometimes is. Like you always got that one guy with the gusto to go out there and do all this stuff. And, musicians, like creative people sometimes aren't the most outwardly, going people, and it's harder and harder for some people to do that.
And that happens to artists in every industry, man. Like I met some of the most socially awkward people I've ever met are head brewers from breweries.
I can see that. Yeah.
They're sitting at home coming up with formulas and new ways to dry hop beer and all this shit. And like they don't socialize. So when they go out, they're kind of like awkward. And like that's, I guess, don't bring out the head brewer. Let him work and have somebody else,
The whole craft beer thing, man, it's like it really has turned me around, opened my eyes to how creating different brews really is. It's like I'm like, I drink here and there. I'm not a huge, I have drinks. I like beer, pretty moderate, but I appreciate the effort and the creativity that goes into making really, really good beer, and I know you do too.
Yeah.
So that's you're a guy that's in that world, so it's like you understand as well.
Yeah, and, man.
I like the finer things, man. It's like I like good coffee and good beer and like good food, all that sort of stuff. It's like, the sort of the small things in life that could just make life a little bit easier to live through. Sure.
You mentioned coffee. How's the Savage Gold?
Well, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore, man. It's it wasn't Not because I didn't like doing it, but it was just there was periods of time where I was just on tour a lot and trying to manage that whole thing from the road, and it just got to be too much of like, I had to come to a point where it was like, all right, what's the return, and like, is it worth doing anymore? And unfortunately, I had to kind of pare back on like where my efforts and my energy was being put into. You can only do so many things in a period of time. So at least for now, that's shut down. I mean, I don't know, maybe things will change, but for now, everything is just sort of not. I had to shut it down. So.
Well, like I was going to say, now there is no touring, so maybe now's a good time to.
The future is so uncertain right now, too, man. It's like, from day to day, who knows, things change. So right now is not, for me, in my opinion, for my personal world, I'm not looking to take too many chances right now with like money or anything like that,
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. It's weird. I know we don't want to, like you said, we don't want to get political. I don't have any political. I'm not a politician. I saw someone on one of our YouTube comments. Somebody said, "This guy doesn't know what he's talking about with politics." I'm like, well, thank God I'm not a politician.
Yeah,
I don't really care.
I don't know too many people who do know what they're talking about with politics.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I just read the paper every now and then, and that's it. I don't really have I know a little bit about the Constitution. That's about it, really. I mean.
Well, without any political leanings, though, I just wanted to say that this is the first time in my life, in the last year, this whole year, is the only time this has ever happened to where when I wake up in the morning, I grab my phone to make sure the world hasn't fallen apart. Like, that's it. I'm just looking for the headlines of like, all right, we're still operating, everything's still going. Do I need to go to work today? All right, cool.
Well, that's exactly right, man. It's like, you can stretch it all the way back the last several years, but the most intense feelings of the country about to fall apart has been in the last 12 months, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the election, you got all these like extremist groups from the right and the left clashing in the streets. You got people being triggered. You got like the pandemic. You got people out of work. It's just like. The climate is rife for disaster, So every morning I'm like, all right, man, did the world end? Are we at war with each other? Did someone burn down another city? Like, what's going on? It's tiring,
Yeah. Like it's funny because I grew up in that world of running away from like what's happening, because my whole family growing up, my father and all that, they were all, criminal masterminds. So I was always in the environment of something's going to happen at any moment. We have to move. And like, cause my whole youth, we would move it from city to city. Every year it was a different city. And, I have that panicky, all that shit already dealt with. I've my whole life, but I always felt like, I'll figure it out. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out. I'm like water, it's fine. We'll adapt. But these days, it's like, I'm making plans of like which dudes I'm gonna pick up for my Mad Max crew when shit goes south. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally, man. I became like a bit of a prepper myself too. I got like, miscellaneous items for self-defense. Around different parts of my house here, and I got food supply.
Yeah.
A water filter. I got some meals ready to eat in case I have to go on the run.
MREs are great, man.
Yeah. My cat. I'm drilling my cat to jump into her, her travel box if we got to make a break for it. So it's like, yeah, man, it's troubling times.
So when do you think it all ends? Because I feel like this feels like a planned. Storied series, television series coming to a finale where like they keep teasing the end and they're just dragging it out, and then eventually this big finale that's going to disappoint everyone.
I don't think it's going to end, man. I just think, honestly, I think that it's not going to be like this big climax. It's going to just be this slow, kind of
burn off.
Like slow burn. Things, little by little, things are going to change. And in one day it's going to be different. You're going to barely realize it. It's like, I got to say, even though I'm not like the biggest, Joe Biden fan as a leader of the country, I celebrated when I found out that he was elected. He became the president elect. And of course, leading up to all that, I totally expected Donald Trump to. He was already building a case for himself to refute, the election.
Oh yeah, even before the numbers came in, he was already saying, "If I lose, it's because someone cheated." Like,
totally. And it's like, and like as a man, it's like you win and you lose. It's like if you lose, you should have a certain level of sportsmanship, about it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the whole thing's a fucking game anyway, man. None of this shit's like, it's a dog and pony show, and that's what our leadership in this country has turned into. So
yeah. Well, it helps to be a fan of professional wrestling. I'll tell you that much.
I know that you're a big fan of that. I'm not against it, but I don't fuck with it too much. But it's yeah.
It's not for everyone. But the thing to take from it, and the reason why I think I've benefited from being a fan during these times. Number one, our president is a WWE Hall of Famer. Just to get that started.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Damn. All right.
Our president is a WWE Hall of Famer. But I understand how they do storytelling on that programming. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I've hung out with the dudes. I understand how they do the writing and how they get the audience engaged, and it's with heels, which is the bad guys. And Donald Trump is a heel. And every pro wrestling fan that I know, when there's a heel on TV, they're booing, but they're excited to be booing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, that's the bad guy, boo him. And everybody's like, yeah. And that's where we're at. That's our society right now. So I get what's happening. You know what I mean? It's all pro wrestling, dude. That's what's going on right now.
I know, man, but it's, if we weren't trying to live through this pandemic, I think it'd be humorous, but it's like there's lives are at stake, and like really bad decision making and, whatever. And it's like, and just at the end of the day too, man, like Donald Trump just has the kind of face I just want to fucking punch, man. That's just the way it is. Like I don't
it does look like a punching bag, or like the ones that you hang what do you call those? I forget the smaller ones. The speed bag. Yeah. His face is like
I'm sure there's people out there that support the man. I'm not one of them. And there's a lot of guys out there that are like these would be like tough guys that support Donald Trump. But I'm just saying, I think he's the kind of guy that needs to get smashed. And if they need someone to do it, I'll do it.
Dude, it comes off very whiny. Like I was playing a Call of Duty video game the other day with a child who was a 7-year-old. Okay. A 7-year-old, and he was talking, and it was verbatim some of the shit I've heard Trump say.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And I was like, dude, that right there is enough. Like, no matter what, I don't know anything about his policies. I don't make enough money to care about the policies of taxes and shit. I don't. Yeah. So I don't really care. But just going off of that he's acting like a 7-year-old brat, like that's come on. Fuck, man. Like, what are we dealing with here?
Yeah, it's very disappointing, And, but like you said, neither one of us are political science, expert or anything. So
I am motivated though, and I just got inspired, man. I think I'm gonna make presidential speed bags.
That's a great idea, man.
Make a Trump one with the little yellow, like a poof of yellow on the top for the hair, and then we can make a Biden one too, so people don't think we're partisan. You know, I mean, you could buy one if you want, punch Biden in the face too if you want. But at least release your anger with these speed bags at the gym or something, or at your home instead of on each other. That would be nice.
And that's probably really what it is with like frustration, and not having like productive outlets to deal with this frustration, and just people should find outlets for all this stuff as opposed to going out and burning down like cities and hitting each other in the head with bats and things like that,
Yeah. You think about it, and that I was thinking about this the other day, and in a different context, and it was that I'm not in a band anymore, and I've been in a band for 10 years, and after 4 years of not being in an active band, I feel this like inside aggression that I used to let out on stage. You know what I mean? I used to be able to.
Yeah.
Be angry, cathartic, and I didn't have any release like that, and it's not a sexual release because that's a different feeling. It's more of like I need to get that aggression out, and going to the gym helps keep it tame. But think about all the musicians that are out of work right now that are experiencing the same thing and don't go to the gym and are sitting at home right now, fucking smoking weed and trying to figure out how to not punch things.
Yeah, man. And aside from just even that catharsis, it's just the whole thing, like the whole trip of being out on the road and, going to Denny's at like 3:00 in the morning and like.
It's life, man. It's a lifestyle. Yeah.
In that day to day, like if like anyone out there that's listening that plays in a band and has done a lot of touring, it's like just that, oh, what'd you guys do last night after the show? And you show up in the afternoon for sound check at the next venue. Just that whole interaction with other people, and then you get to see your friends in different cities that you've met over the years. You get to run into guys who do sound for bands that you toured with before or might have done sound for you at some point. The whole like communal aspect of it is it's like it's something that I'm personally really missing right now because, I spend most of my days by myself over here and it's just, that gets old and, we have band practice and, but that's cool. But I want to see other people that I do this stuff with. So.
For sure. No, I hear you, man. It's like I do stuff like I play online video games. So I have a community that I stay in touch with, but it's just audio either, like we're playing, but it's just like we're talking, we're having it's like a phone call. I still miss being at a bar together, go to a show, fucking.
Yep. Yeah. That's a real heavy, like loss, man. And, it's something that I think, people may be taking that for granted too, and I know I have. And I think when we're ready to start going to see shows again, whenever that is, I'm going to make sure that I go. I don't just sleep on certain things. Because I just remember in the past, it's like, oh yeah, man, so-and-so is playing tonight at wherever. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to go. And then I don't go because I'm tired or like, oh man, I want to watch a Netflix show or some bullshit like that. And I'm like, you know what, man, it's better to go and maybe be tired the next day at work or whatever. But it's just better to get out among people. And I think that my resolution moving past all this is like when there's bands coming through that I want to see, I'm going to make sure I go out and see them now.
Yeah. Well, one thing I was talking to one of my buddies about, and it was a concept in my head of, he was telling me that time was the only truth. He's like, the only thing you can measure life in is with time. And I was like, I don't really agree with that. But if you think about it, I think life experiences are the truth, So now that we've all had all this time to ourselves, it gives us that realization of like, oh, the experience, that's what matters. You could be tired at work tomorrow, but whatever, man, fucking sleep it off later.
Totally. And time, I'm not even convinced that time is a constant, honestly, because I think that it's a subjective thing sometimes, like how much an hour feels like or how much a year feels like, and it's like, and there's all sorts of paradoxes around that. So I think the experiential thing that you just mentioned is probably more significant than how long a minute or an hour or a year is really.
Yeah, man. Think about it. Everybody's making the joke this year, 2020. Hey, remember back 47 years ago in January?
Yeah. You're totally right about that, man. It's like a whole lifetime has passed, It's crazy.
That's a crazy thing, and people, I'd like to look into that. Are there scientists that are worried about that kind of shit? Because there should be. Like,
that's a question, man. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer for that. But yeah, that seems like something they should be doing research.
Someone should be researching that, right?
Yeah,
Like, why do we need daylight savings time? That's so weird.
Dude, that is like the biggest waste of time. Like, and it just fucks you up, man. It's like, okay, now it's an hour earlier. Why? No. I mean, most people don't work on a farm. You know what I mean? And it's like, I could see if that really was mattered to you, but most people, we should just keep it on one time.
You're making people less productive. That's what you're doing. Because at 5:30 when it's night out, I just want to go to bed.
Totally, man. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's ridiculous, man. But one thing that I've noticed that has been blossoming during this time is podcasting. Everybody's doing something now.
Yep.
And it's important, I think, to do something. Twitch streaming, whatever the fuck you want to do. You got to make money somehow. And you've got a couple podcasts. I mean, you're doing the Metal Matters podcast on Gimme Radio. You're doing your Necromaniacs. Are you still doing your solo one, the Man on a Mountain?
Well, Everything Went Black. Yeah, that's like
Everything Went Black.
Kind of like the flagship, attempt at doing this thing, and I'm keeping that running too. It's not as regular as the other two. Like the other two come out every week on the same day, and the Metal Matters comes out on Tuesdays, Necromaniacs comes out on Thursdays, and then Everything Went Black is like whenever I have something interesting to talk about, or if there's somebody I want to talk to, I'll do an episode. But yeah,
nice man. And how'd you get into the whole Metal Matters one? Like, how did they contact you, or did you reach out to them?
Well, what happened was like Everything Went Black. It was basically that's what the Metal Matters show is, with a little bit more access to different guests. So it's like, Metal Matters was part of the Gimme Metal, Gimme Radio platform. And then actually back at Ozfest, and I'd never heard of them. And then they were one of the people I'd speak to on my press schedule. And that's where I met Tyler and some of the other people that worked there. And after we were done, he's like, yeah, man, just drop me a line when you get back from tour. I'd be interested in talking about podcasting with you. And then like a year later, I think we kicked it off. And
nice.
So yeah, I mean, apparently he was familiar with Everything Went Black, and that was, like I said, just like real casual. It's like, I had fairly good guests on there. Like Eric Rutan was on there. Josh Barnett, our mutual, friend, was on there. And a lot of it was just me talking. I would talk about MMA. I would talk about, random stuff, the occult, like all these, like, but the Metal Matters thing is definitely more focused on music and, extreme music. But on that one, I also have, I've had authors on there. I've had, mostly band people. I do like classic records episodes. I try to keep it interesting. And of course, Necromaniacs is, I co-host that with Mike Scandato from Inhuman and The Last Stand, two New York-based hardcore bands. And Jeff Kashid, who used to be in ISIS and Palms. Mm-hmm. And the three of us do it. Comes out every Thursday. The horror, exploitation, gore, anything macabre we talk about on that show. So yeah.
Nice. I like it, man. No, I've heard a few episodes. I love the Necromaniacs. I've been checking out Gimme Radio more. I go on my browser on my website, but they have their own app and shit, I'm sure.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So it's not like a radio. It's not like satellite radio. You don't need to have a subscription to like Sirius or anything.
No, you don't. I mean, the cool thing about their app is you can have a free membership, but you listen to it like you're listening to radio. Like it's not on demand.
They're just playing stuff, right?
Yeah. So whoever's show is on at that time, you'll check it out. And they got some good curators. They got good DJs.
I know they had Jessica on. Jessica's one of their curators, I think, on Mondays or something. She does something.
Yeah, they got Dan Loker. They got, Dave Mustaine, like, all these, people. And then if you want to get the membership, you have access to on demand, like all the different shows are archived. And if you want to just listen to one particular DJ, you can just check out that show. Or, it's a pretty cool like thing, and it's, it's like someone back in the day when someone would make you like a mixtape. That's kind of like what it's like really listening to that.
Yeah, man. I miss old school radio when it was good, when they would play real music that I enjoyed or just talked, and to me that sounds very appealing to have Gimme Radio on all day,
Yeah, totally, and I mess around with Sirius XM, I listen to Howard Stern, I used to listen to Luke Thomas, the MMA guy, on the afternoon, but now he moved over to CBS. But I still have the Sirius subscription.
Yeah, I used to watch the show with Boss and was it Mauro? Mauro Ranallo?
Yeah, Mauro Ranallo. He was a Pride commentator, like all around combat sports, pro wrestling guy too, right? Didn't he do
yeah. He's one of the best at pro wrestling commentating. Like he's up there with good old Jim Ross, JR, man.
Great voice.
Wow. Great voice, very excited, and you could tell that what's important is that you could tell that he does the research. Like he reads up on everything, so when he's talking, he's on it. It's on a frequency. You can Google or YouTube videos of him losing his shit over a WWE match. It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man.
But I miss the talk radio thing, so that's really, I'm going to start checking them out more. One thing that I wanted to bring up to you was the stereo app. I don't know if you've seen this thing.
I never even heard of it. What is it?
So it's on your, I think it's only on your phone. I don't know if they do it on the computer too, but it's called Stereo, and it's a conversation with two people, and the app opens up and it's two little avatar pictures. It's not your face. It's like little cartoony version of you that you make, and the lips move as you talk. So you're having a conversation back and forth with someone, and then people can live drop recordings of audio, so they can chime in and like to your conversation.
Oh wow, okay.
And it's up to you. Like, obviously, it's not just like, oh, they're talking in the middle of us. It's you press the button to play the whatever. So you could be talking about a subject and bring up a topic and be like, what do you guys think? And then people will start chiming in. And you could play them, and if it's offensive, you just cut it off and keep playing. Because some people like to be stupid and like, fuck yeah, Trump 2020.
Of course, yeah. Of course, there's always people like that. Yeah.
But overall, though, I thought it was pretty interesting. I've seen a couple comedians are using it, like Jeff Ross is using it a lot, and Tony Hinchcliffe has been doing a lot of it. So I don't know. I like it. It's just, I think more people, and I think they pay you like if you get a certain amount of people listening. Like if you hit like 500 listeners, they start sending you money. I'm like, what? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm down with making some money. Definitely.
Hell yeah. Ooh. So about that, do you make enough money off of these podcasts?
I mean, there's some money that changes hands, but it's not, it's not like my full-time job. Definitely not.
Is that a goal for you? Like, do you want it to be a full-time job?
It would depend. It would depend if I can maintain like a lifestyle that I like, and also have the flexibility to leave town for like 2 months at a time. And I realize that's hard to do when you're doing a regular programmed show. And if someone was going to pay you regularly enough money to do only that, I imagine that they would have these, scheduled demands to be placed on you. So, it's like I really love podcasting, and I love, the whole the free form conversation aspect of it. But if someone was to like really crack down on me to, really stick to a schedule like that, even though I do have a schedule, or some producers got involved or something like that, it would really just turn into another job, and I could do other things to make a lot more money with less stress. You know what I mean? So, I guess the long-winded answer to that is like, I would do it as a job if it fit with everything else that I have going on.
If it made sense. Yeah.
I don't want to just like, all right, man, you got to do like, 6 hours of audio programming 5 days a week, and it has to all be live, so you can't pre-record stuff, and that means I never go on tour. And like the whole point of this thing, and my whole reason for living is like to create music and travel and play gigs, So that's kind of like against the grain with that,
Yeah. It's just it becomes more and more appealing as we don't see like a future for live music yet. To try and figure something else out, but yeah, like you said, man, when you find something that you love and then make it your job, sometimes it kind of fucks that up a little bit. Like it becomes work.
Yeah, I mean, and like if there was it's a situational thing too, and it's like, if it was the right situation, I would do it, which means that it would have to literally be exactly the way I want it to be. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Live music's going to come back, man. I mean, this whole thing we're going through right now, this isn't the first time, we've got to deal with something like this. And I know it seems like really catastrophic and, we're never going to return or whatever. But like, 100 years ago, without any of the medical technology that we have at our disposal now, there was the Spanish flu, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And also when the Europeans came over to what became North America, they infected almost the entire continent with weird European diseases, and people they survived. It's the way of the world, man.
But we're soft now. Everybody's a celebrity. Everybody's got their Instagram and their TikTok, and they feel like celebrities that don't need to work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to be painful getting through all this, but we will. And the one thing. It's just things keep moving forward, and that's kind of how
we've gotten too comfortable with life being good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We haven't really had wars. We haven't had like a terrorist attack since 9/11, which was catastrophic, but it's been a while since we've had anything like that happen to us, where there are countries that's every day.
True. That's very true. And also terrorist attacks in 9/11, it's like there was this one big event that happened, but you still were able to feel relatively safe, and you didn't have to like be separated from people, and and that's the separation aspects of it. Humans are like communal, community-based people. So it's like if you start eliminating that, all these like weird neurotic behaviors, like all these like neuroses start developing. I mean, I even see it in myself, man. Just like the tension, like the stress levels, depression, like all this stuff, man. It's like it's like a very real emotional like thing to get through. And that's that's what everyone's having a hard time with. It's not a tangible enemy, really.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's why we were seeing a lot more podcasts, video podcasts like this with musician friends, because it's therapy, really.
I agree.
You need to have to talk to somebody. You know what I mean? Because if you're locked up at home all day doing nothing, that can get to you. I try and stay so busy that it doesn't catch up to me. You know what I mean? By the time I get to bed, I start thinking about it a little bit, and I just pass out.
Yeah, it's like I'm definitely busy. I got, I always have a lot of stuff going on, but like I am here by myself, so it's like that element of it gets old after a while. But there's just you got to develop a certain type of mentality to just kind of push through these things. You got to keep a schedule. I think is really the main thing. You got to get up at the same time and have certain periods that you do certain things. And then of course, for me personally, I need to do something physical pretty much every day. And then you do that, and then you feel better.
Are you still doing jujitsu every day, or?
Well, I'm not comfortable enough to do jujitsu right now, but, I've been doing Muay Thai. That's like, that's like my main love, really, for martial arts. And I just started doing this kettlebell challenge. It's 10,000 kettlebell swings in 20 workouts. Ooh. So there's a whole program you follow with that, and it's been rough, man. But it's like, just little tasks like that throughout the day are things that that really help with all this stuff,
Yeah. There's this new thing that I saw a commercial for. It was called the Mirror.
The Mirror.
You put it up on your wall, and it's a mirror. And on the mirror, there's I guess like underneath the glass, there's a screen, and you can have a trainer like talk to you while you're working out in your house. So you stand in front of the mirror and do the whatever you're doing, kettlebells, and they'll be like, all right, lift up your elbow and do this and shit like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's like super, super expensive, rich, people things that I won't ever have.
But I mean, like my gym has been open though. I mean, it's it's the same like 20 or 30 guys every night, so it's not like out, it's not like a Planet Fitness or something where just random people. But so I mean, we're able to get training in and see people, and that's good. Hit pads, things like that. Like I'm not really doing any grappling or anything like that, because I feel like that's really pressing your luck. But
right.
But once again, I'm not going to criticize.
And it's not just corona; it might be a staph infection or something else.
Bro, I've had that. I'm no stranger to staph infections, man. Yeah. But it's like that to me. That's the limit I have is the grappling I'm not going to do until things are a little bit, in my opinion, more safer. But I'm not. If you want to do it and feel comfortable, it's your freedom to do that.
Yeah. So are you in for the vaccine? I mean, do you want to get it if it works?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, I probably eventually will get vaccinated, but I do think that maybe more people that are probably more at risk should get it first. Like obviously first responders, like people in the medical industry, like like those are the people that should get the vaccine first. Older, my mom and dad. Like I want them to be safe. I don't know if I necessarily am too worried about having a hard time with coronavirus in general. A couple people I know have gotten it already, and they dealt with it in 3 days, basically. Mm-hmm. And but then again, like someone I know who is he's an ex-fighter, he's a coach. He got it. He had an existing respiratory problem, and he had a hard time with it, man. Like it for like 5-6 weeks, it put him down.
Yeah.
So you really can't tell. I mean, but still, I feel like I'm more concerned about the people in my life than I am about myself, really, at this point.
For sure. No, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? If somebody shows up with a vaccine, you take care of your family first, and if there's enough at the end, that's for you. Because I think I got it in like January after NAMM, dude. I'm pretty sure.
That seems like the kind of place you would get a virus.
I was out for 2 weeks after NAMM, like in bed, couldn't breathe, couldn't sleep, couldn't taste anything, couldn't smell anything. It was like, what the fuck is this? I thought it was just me, getting the Namthrax that we get every year,
I mean, it sounds like you probably did have it, and I mean, at the time, like I live out in New Jersey right now, but at the beginning of this whole thing, I was living in New York, taking the train every day and the subway and just forget about any kind of pandemic, just the soup of bacteria and viruses and just filth that you have to subject yourself to. When I started hearing about COVID-19, I started looking around. I'm like, I'm in the subway every day, man. That's either good or bad.
Yeah.
Either I have like this ironclad immune system, or I'm completely exposed all the time. So I don't know. Maybe that's something.
You might have an ironclad immune system because of growing up in New York, man. It's one of those things.
Yeah,
we grow up like George Carlin would say, swimming in raw sewage in the Hudson River,
That's right, But it's no joke though. Like I definitely, it's something you got to be really careful with. You got to make sure you're safe, and I get tested every 2 weeks too, which is like, something that just my own like sense of responsibility dictates that. There's like, I just want to feel safe. I don't want to put anyone at risk. I make sure that I'm healthy. And there was a couple of times where I was convinced that I did have it though, where I was like, oh my God, I can't move, I'm sneezing and coughing. And then 2 days later, I was fine. So it was probably just a cold, and I didn't test positive at all. So,
no.
But,
hey, it happens. There's still colds. That's the thing. People forget. There's still other things.
Yeah. Not everything's a coronavirus.
Yeah. We'll see, man. I'm definitely up for the vaccine. I don't believe that they are injecting microchips into us. As hard to believe as that may be, people think that that's what's happening, that Bill Gates' vaccine is going to have microchips to track us all, like we don't already all have cell phones.
Well, that's the thing, man. It's like I'm talking about privacy and like, I want to be tracked, but like no one wants to give up their phone.
Exactly.
Which holds all of your personal information.
GPS tracking.
Yeah, dude. It's like
it's got your fingerprint for the back thing to turn it on with the fingerprint.
Hell yeah, online banking, everyone gives up all their personal information to Facebook and whatever willingly. No one's like spying on them to get any of that stuff.
Yeah, but they go on Facebook to complain about these conspiracies about being tracked. It's like, come on.
Hey man, like nobody loves a good conspiracy theory more than me, man. But I also, hey, maybe some of this stuff's right. I don't know, but
I mean, I like looking into it. I don't like to fall into the rabbit hole of it, because then you can convince yourself of anything. And that's one thing I was telling people. Like my father, for example, he keeps sending me little clips of Republican news and how the Democrats are lying and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm like, are you even looking at the other side, or are you just looking at this side? Because you need to look at both if you want a full picture of what's happening, right?
Sure. Well, that was the thing that I thought was the funniest about the whole, challenging of the election was that only the states that the Democrats won in were guilty of fraud, not the ones that the Republicans are. Those are completely on the level.
No, yeah,
So
of course.
that was really funny.
Those are our people. I mean, they wouldn't. That's how they see it, right? They're like, no, they're fine. We don't need to look into that.
It's good, hardworking people out there. That's it.
It's just weird, man. I like exploring all aspects of existence in life. I like to hear stories of people were giving me shit for hanging out with Jesse Hughes. I'm like, dude, yeah, he has some opinions. But those are his opinions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, the fact that this whole guilt by association thing, I think it's a weird phenomenon that's happened where it's like you can only be friends with people that think exactly like you.
Yeah, it's not good for you, man.
No, and like no one can ever change or, bro, I gotta tell you, man, like just, I'm pretty old school. Like I grew up, like a lot of people into like really dodgy shit, weird ideas about stuff. But some of those people changed, man.
Mm-hmm.
When you're 15 years old or 16 years old and you're influenced by all this negativity in your life and you develop a certain ideology, by the time you're 21, 22, 24, you're out of that. So there's all those embarrassing moments in your life where people have like, remember you as a different type of person, and you're a completely different person 30 years later. And it's you see, in some ways you have to allow that, and you have to forgive people too if they're sorry for certain things or if they've changed or if that was like, a change part or something like that. It's like, and I feel like this society doesn't really allow that to happen anymore, which is unfortunate.
That's some pussy snowflake shit, bro. What are you talking about?
That's fine.
That's what I'm saying. It definitely it's lack of empathy, lack of compassion. That no one gives a shit. It's because they feel comfortable feeling that way. Like they feel like they're justified now. Like I have a lot of buddies that I talk to from high school that don't agree with me, and they don't understand that they feel this way because now they have permission to feel this way. You know what I mean? They're inspired. It's fine, and that's what happens when you get inspired. But it's not a good inspiration. You shouldn't be proud of being a jerk. Like, what is that? You should have compassion.
Well, that's the scariest thing I think about just kind of the state of things right now, where everyone's like really on the opposite end of the spectrum from each other, and that social division is going to be like around for a long time, really. I feel,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially on the Trump side of things, like the MAGA people, they probably spent 20 years of their lives like made to feel a certain way by the Democrats and the liberal types, and I'm not saying who's right or wrong. I mean, I have to work with all kinds of people, man. Like I have to be around, like, I used to work construction, man. So it's like, I spent years of my life digging holes in the ground and pouring concrete. So I'm around people with very conservative ideas, and then I also spent years of my life, like I went to college, I traveled in the world, and you got to understand that people have different ideas. That doesn't make them bad people, but you have to I think we have to get back to that idea of just people having different ideas and be able to find that place between all that where we can coexist.
Right. A lot of people I hear talk about a third party, that, the trifecta, whatever, the Holy Trinity, like there should be a third aspect. But I don't think we should see it as an individual third aspect. It should be the two sides connecting there. That's how you find a balance.
Yeah, and it's like there should be more than three, maybe. There could be like, there should be several parties, really. There shouldn't just be two options. I think that, but then again, that just comes down to money, man. And it's like who can raise enough money to do their campaigns, and it's all very much tied into financial shit. You know what I mean?
Are you ready for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson running in 2024?
Why not, man? You know what I mean? It's like we might as well.
I mean, it's a better choice.
We might as well have them. Run. I don't.
If we're gonna have celebrity presidents, it might as well be someone who's inspiring. Somebody who works out and, donates and drinks tequila.
Yeah. At this stage of the game, Eddie, nothing would surprise me, really. We had like a failed businessman who was a reality TV show star become president. A guy who's probably going to end up in jail in the next year for tax evasion in New York State. A guy who's like ripped off the very working man that are supporting him, and all these like shady like construction deals. So why not have Dwayne The Rock Johnson run for president?
Sure, Dwayne, and who would be the? I want Stone Cold Steve Austin for vice, but if we want to have some kind of political leaning, then it would have to be somebody from the political side of things. I don't know.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Juliette Lewis maybe could run as the vice president. That would be cool. I like her. Why not?
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah. Since it seems like people just pick who they like as opposed to whether or not they have good ideas.
Well, I know for a fact Kanye West is going to be on that bill next year. Maybe he'll win, and we can all scoop diddy poop. However that song was that he wrote. Did you hear that song?
I'm sorry to say, but I'm not that familiar. I know who he is, but that just doesn't show up on my radar, man. It's like, I got to be honest, man, and I'm not trying to be like a hipster or anything like that, but I really don't know his music. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I know like maybe 2 songs, but he wrote a song where the words in it were literally scoop dee dee poop, poop dee whoop dee scoop. I am not kidding. Those are the lyrics. You can look it up. And it just blew my mind. I couldn't believe it.
Lady Gaga has songs like that too. So maybe she can run on the same bill with him.
They should. Yeah, there you go. People would vote. Kanye and Lady Gaga. Oh my God, that would win the ticket.
I would probably vote for Lady Gaga. I think as president. Why not?
Yeah,
maybe president.
Wasn't she doing stuff with Metallica recently?
What was that?
She's doing stuff with Metallica.
Oh, that's cool.
I think she was singing with them somewhere. I saw that somewhere on the internets.
Yeah, Metallica is definitely passed into that realm of like losing touch, with what they should or shouldn't be doing, And I'm not saying that they shouldn't do anything with Blue Peter or Lady Gaga, but it's like that they've lost contact with like anything besides like maybe ego or things like that, and it's like, I'm saying this completely from a hypothetical standpoint because I have no idea what it's like to be any of those guys operating at a level like that, but it just gets, it gets interesting and kind of entertaining when you see these pairings of different people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not really, Metallica is not really a band, it's a machine, it's a corporation at this point. They have a lot of employees.
Yeah, people like depend on them for their living and their livelihood, and it's like, yeah. But I also want to go on the record to say that I love Metallica. Like,
oh yeah,
Injustice for All was incredible. That's my favorite Metallica album, actually.
Injustice for All, Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, Kill 'Em All. Those records to me are revolutionary at the time.
Man. And in the 90s, I kind of lost touch with them, and
I liked Black Album. It wasn't obviously as thrashy and fast and exciting as the other stuff, but it was still good. I thought the writing was good. After that, I kind of lost. When they cut their hair, that was when I drew the line.
In retrospect, I actually liked the Black Album more than I did when it came out. I think a lot of that stuff is just solid, like hard rock music. I can listen to it now and really enjoy it. But back when it came out, I got so excited because I'm like, oh, it's just black. It's just this black record. And I was like, this is awesome. And then I put it on. I was like, all right, okay, all right. And then I was kind of like, because the juxtaposition of that record with Injustice for All, where there's like 7-minute songs, all these parts and all this like
shredding
and like tempo changes and all that stuff. And then there was like, I wasn't ready. I wasn't free enough to like understand what they were trying to do. And I was just stuck in this narrow viewport of what I wanted them to be. Yeah. And then, 20 years later or whatever, now I can appreciate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think after that, I kind of like, they would drag me in with like a song or two from like that I would hear. And even recently with their newest release, there was somebody sent me the song. They're like, dude, they're back. And I'm like, what do you mean they're back? And I put it on. It was a thrash song. I was like, oh, okay. So Metallica's writing thrash again. That's awesome. And then I heard the rest of the album, and it was just one thrash song.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, yeah.
I was like, all right, well, fuck. All right.
Yeah, but, good for them, man. It's like, I don't, I'd still have nothing but respect for those guys.
Hey, they're selling those records. That's what matters, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And like I tell people about, as a metalhead, we all make fun of Nickelback. But someone's buying those fucking records. That's an excellent point, actually. Yeah. It's not like I may not like their music, but somebody does, and a lot of people do.
Oh yeah, and but that's the thing, man. That's like the real irony is that, like, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I like that people make fun of. I'm sure people make fun of what you and I listen to.
Oh, sure,
like,
yeah.
Noise, it's like where's the the singing parts or whatever, It's like, and it just depends on like your point of view, It's like what's right for me is like I like this, or these things, and then someone might think that stuff's ridiculous, Which and they're
you should hear all this shit. You should hear all the shit I get from Cuban friends from growing up that they're all into salsa music, and I'm like, hey, you check out the new Gojira video, and they're like, what? And I'll send it to them, and they're like, dude, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why are you so angry?
It's devil music you're listening to.
It's just funny. I love having that though in my life. Like my wife sometimes will bring it up. She's like, "Why do you if you don't relate, then why do you hang out with them?" I'm like, "Cause it adds flavoring." I don't know.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's really good to like. I like getting around people that don't know anything about what I'm into at all too, man. It's like, we were talking about the gym earlier. It's like when you go to the gym, no one listens to like heavy metal in my gym. It's like they all listen to like, new school, like hip hop or like Michael, one Friday we were playing Michael Jackson in the gym, and it's like, they just don't, it's not something that's part of their world. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's cool because I like going there and it's like, they also can like sort of objectively be like, oh, what do you listen to, man? I'm like, check this out, or I'll send them a link to like a tune song or something like that. And they're just, I don't know, man. Like, I like that thing, but this other thing's a little too much for me. That's what I get. So it's like, I like that though. I like being around people that aren't necessarily 100% into the things that you're into,
For sure. I like it when they're a little bit into it. Like, I'll meet somebody that's, oh, dude, yeah, I love metal. I listen to Korn. And I'm like, cool. Have you heard of, this, that, or the other? They're like, no. And then I'll show them like a Gojira or something, and their minds just, I see it explode. Like, what? It can get heavier? It's like, I love those people because it feels so good to like expose somebody to that, then that they appreciate it. You know what I mean?
Sometimes,
hopefully. Yeah.
But the deeper you get though, it's like even within like listening to death and black metal, it's like there's always a layer below that you have no idea is going on. Like you have no idea. Like, you're like, you think you're cool. You're like listening to like, bands like Vastum and, Impetuous Ritual and things like that. But then there's like a whole other layer below that I don't know anything about. Like, for example, Matt, my guitar player, he's so dialed into all this like slam stuff that I only know a little bit about, and he's like a master at all this stuff. He's like, he has like a master's degree in slam.
Slam.
Like,
what's okay? Educate me. What's slam? I don't know.
Think about like these brutal like breakdowns, like super like,
where they extend the emptiness, where it's like da-dun, da-dun, like those.
There's a little bit of that. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. But it's like slow death metal breakdown heavy music with pretty like extreme lyrics.
What's a good band that's in that category?
New Jersey's own Waking the Cadaver, I would say.
Waking the Cadaver.
Yeah, they're like a legendary New Jersey slam band that I back them. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's a good place to start. I think they're a good representation of the genre.
I'm writing it down. Waking the Cadaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to check it out. I do. I like knowing these things because I don't want to. As I host this show, like I want to know as much as I can, right? Like if somebody's like, "Hey, have you listened to Slam?" I'll be like, "Da da da, let the boys be boys." Slam, is that what you're talking about?
It's like a lot of dudes wear like those flat brim fitted hats. You know what I mean?
Big shirts.
Maybe, it's like a T-shirt with like a logo on it that you won't never be able to read the logo.
Oh, it's their own clothing line.
And then there'll be like a title that would be offensive to most people. Like
a title of a song,
or a record or some slogan on the back of the shirt that would be like incredibly potentially offensive to like straight people, like regular squares. You know what I mean?
Like Jesus is a cunt. Who was it that had that shirt?
Oh, that's what's his name there? Why am I? Well, the British
Cradle of Filth.
Cradle of Filth, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Danny Filth.
Yep.
I can't believe I had him on the show. When they hit me up with it, I was like, really?
No,
yes.
He was on Metal Matters too last year. He was great, really cool guy. I kind of wish I got to meet him in person because I think that he's just really into like a lot of the same the stuff I like to read. Like all this like gothic horror and all that vampire stuff. Like he's just a cool guy. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. No, he collects a lot of stuff. He likes beer.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's
you know anyone from the UK who doesn't like beer?
That's true. Yeah. No, he surprised me, dude. I really wasn't expecting him to be so down to earth and cool to. It sounded like I want to hang out, like you said, just have a beer, talk shit.
Cool, man. I like Danny Phil.
Well, now that we put him over, I want to put you over a little bit more with your shows. So, Necromaniacs, Metal Matters podcast on Gimme Radio, and Everything is Black.
Everything went black.
Everything went black.
Yeah.
Sorry. Everything went black. Those are your three main podcasts.
Those are the only podcasts I do. The Metal Matters stuff is available. It's available. Like you can get that on iTunes and Spotify. It's not just part of the platform, so you can, you don't have to be a Gimme Radio member to listen to it.
Okay. And then, what was the stuff you were doing where it was Man on a Mountain or something like that? Or am I saying that right?
Yeah, well, within the overarching platform of Everything Went Black, I would try out all these different sub shows in there, and that was like, the Man on the Silver Mountain thing was like slow podcasts, and then there was like an MMA one I did with Andrew, our old drummer, and then I tried
to Andrew.
Hell yeah, dude, love him. My fucking brother, man.
Yeah.
And then I would do I tried to start up one about more with like an occult sort of supernatural investigation bent called Night Talk. And I only did 3 episodes of that. But it's I guess that's kind of where I try to do demos for all these different ideas for various shows. And right now, since most of my music related stuff is on Metal Matters, Everything Went Black is really just me talking, or occasionally I'll have a guest on there. We'll talk about something, storytelling, that kind of thing. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do at Everything Went Black.
Okay. And do you don't have a Patreon page or anything like that?
We're starting one up for Necromaniacs, and probably in 2021 we'll be probably going full on with Patreon for Everything Went Black, because I have a backlog of bonus material, different interviews that I did over the years that existed as audio interviews before I even had a podcast, with some really interesting people that I'm going to put up as bonus content, and do bonus shows, things like that.
Yep, that's one really good way to make money, man. I know a lot of people making decent money from that. My Patreons are helping me pay for all my server fees that I have and shit like that, so I appreciate that the little I get, it's a lot, Sure. I know people that I have a small number of followers on there, but you hear people that have 2,000 followers and they're making a salary just off of Patreon. It's insane.
Sure.
So the more content you make, the better, I think.
When I started there's a Patreon for Everything Went Black too. There's a few people on it, but I'm not pushing it too much right now because I haven't been able to put a lot of bonus content on there.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying in 2021, there's a wealth of stuff that I'm going to start putting up on there. And same thing with the Necromaniacs. We're going to launch. And there's 3 of us, so we'll be able to really crank out a bunch of cool extras on there.
Cool. And also your Toombs' new album, Under Sullen Skies, is out now, today. How are you going to celebrate today? What are you going to do after this?
Well, I got to do my 500 kettlebell swings. And that's non-negotiable. I got to do that today.
Okay.
That's really it, man. The holidays are coming up. I don't want to be in close proximity with anybody because I want to see my family. And I don't know. I don't really have any plans, dude.
That's crack open a bottle of something to celebrate for yourself.
I was thinking about that. There's a really nice beer store down here in Metuchen, New Jersey, where I live, and it's they got that Cape May IPA there, which is I'm quite fond of that. So
nice.
Maybe I'll do that. But I hesitate to sit here and drink by myself because that's like, kind of a dark thing to do sometimes.
It feels alcoholic-y, like you're becoming an alcoholic.
Yeah, it feels like like a little darker than I like to get sometimes.
I have a solution for you. You get on Skype or Zoom and you talk to a couple pals and you have a little happy hour situation, and then that way you don't feel so bad about drinking by yourself because you're virtually drinking with everybody else.
That's probably a good idea, man. I never tried that before.
That's what I've been doing. I've been doing it on Instagram. I'll get a couple of my pals and I'll just call. Like, I won't even tell them. I'll just hit the video call. I'm like, what are you doing right now, fucker? He's like, oh, I'm walking to the grocery store. I'm like, well, we're drinking. Call me in 5. And he'll call me back and we just get together and drink on there. And that way I can drink and not feel like a degenerate.
Yeah. I mean, that's, Friday nights are, it's, I was just this morning when I woke up, I was like, man, I feel like with the record coming out today, I should be driving somewhere else out of state, to do a show or whatever. I should be loading equipment or, we should be on our way to somewhere else. But home, so it's a drag.
Set up a Zoom call with your bandmates and you all get drunk and record it and put it out as content. There you go.
Those are like the only guys I actually see on a fairly regular basis. We can just go down to the practice space and do that. Maybe that's what we should do tonight. Yeah, maybe that. Do like a little hangout. But anyway, people listening, please check out Under Sullen Skies. It's fantastic, man. I'm going to go listen to it now, actually, in between this and my next podcast. And, I already heard more than half of it, so I only got a couple tracks to go. But thank you, dude, for your time. I appreciate you. That I'm glad that you're a homie and that you're doing well. You're staying safe in there and stay productive, man. I think that's the only way we get through this. Staying productive. Hope to see you soon, man.
Yeah, brother.
Take care.
Take care,
Thanks.
brother.
Take care,
Cheers.